Hello! Jiaoqiu just came out, so I wanted to give my thoughts on whether his signature is good for Black Swan or not. I did some math and tested it out, so I'm not going to waste any of your time. Let's get right into it. The gameplay you'll see in the background will first be Black Swan with Jiaoqiu's signature, and then after we'll look at her with her own sig, Reforged Remembrance. This will just be a test to see how they feel to play and if there are any noticeable differences in cycles needed to clear. Here you can see the debuff the light cone actually applies, but while this is going on, I wanted to see how these light cones stacked up in terms of personal and team damage, since her teammates will also be able to benefit from the vulnerability. With Ranmei and Kafka at E0 S1, her own signature outdamages Jiaoqiu's by just under 5%. These numbers aren't actually based on the fights you'll see on screen, since it'd be really hard to control for things like Arcana stacks and energy. But over 4 cycles in MOC 12 versus level 95 enemies, only a 5% drop in personal damage doesn't seem that significant. But take a look at this. Kafka benefits a lot, and just by having the 24% vulnerability present, it'll increase her damage by around 20%. For overall team damage, this comes to around a 7% increase with Jiaoqiu's signature. One thing I do want to note is I didn't account for any breaks or break dots, so this could go up a few percentage points, especially with Ranmei's talent and alt break damage. I ran this again, but with Kafka on an S5 Good Night and Sleep wall. You might notice there's slightly less personal damage on Black Swan, but this is because we have one less Kafka skill detonation, but overall they're looking roughly the same as if we had Kafka's sig. So in summary, Reforged Remembrance wins out in personal damage by a slight margin, while Kafka's own damage will be significantly improved by running Jiaoqiu's light cone on Black Swan, as well as giving the team a minor increase in total damage. But we need to be careful here, and there are a couple things I need to address. Black Swan's light cone is an unconditional 40% EHR, 20% attack, and enables her dots to ignore 28.8% of her enemies' defense, which pairs really well with her kit. Jiaoqiu's sig gives an unconditional 60% effect hit rate, which makes it easier to build an attack body on Swan, and you can pretty much maintain the 24% vulnerability for the entire fight. The only problem is the debuff has a 60% base chance of being applied. It's generally recommended to only get around 120% EHR on Black Swan, which also maximizes her Trace's EHR to damage percent conversion. But if she has 120% EHR, the light cone's debuff will just have over a 92% chance to apply on enemies with 30% effect res, and 79% on enemies with 40% effect res. You would need 137.9% EHR and a whopping 177.5 to guarantee it on 30 and 40% F-res enemies respectively. So overall, is Jiaoqiu's signature worth it for Black Swan, or should you just go for her own sig? If I had to pick, even though you do more team damage with Jiaoqiu's, it just won't be consistent enough for me to recommend it. Yes, the debuff lasts for 2 turns, and sometimes you have multiple chances to land it with, say, a skill into alts, but it'll definitely be a pain to see the F-res, and you don't want to build more EHR on Black Swan than you need. Also, this debate is mostly about Kafka Swan. Sampo, Guanifin, and the other dot characters wouldn't contribute nearly as much damage as Kafka for Jiaoqiu's sig to be worth considering. One other thing about Kafka is if you have her E1 or are planning to get it, it does reduce the value of running Jiaoqiu's sig by a little bit, since you're just stacking more vulnerability. It's not really diminishing returns, but you can kind of think it that way. That being said, there's still a good argument to be made for pulling this light cone anyway for Black Swan and just dealing with some missed debuffs. Jiaoqiu's sig is a better pull for overall account value, I'd say, since it can be used in other teams and potential future characters as well. For example, this is definitely Black Swan's best in slot for dot Charon teams where Acheron is the main focus. And I'm sure it'll see value in future dot characters, but don't quote me on that. Okay, so I was going to show the entire fight with Black Swan's own signature as well, but the fight went almost exactly the same every time I did the runs. If I put them side by side, you wouldn't be able to tell. So spoiler, they both ended in 3 cycles pretty much every time with a very comfortable finish, because there were still a few more actions and dots to proc, including another Kafka turn. So if you want my opinion from actually using it in real scenarios, I couldn't really notice any differences when testing them, but hey, you might find different results. If you found any of this helpful, I'd appreciate a lot if you left a like and sub. Good luck on your Jiaoqiu and Sparkle Pulse, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.
素晴らしい時はやがお別れの時間よ。定められた奇跡は立ちなさい。ほらほら